Apparently, for some Americans, to protect kids in school against guns, we need a little bit less gun control and a little bit more modern warfare. Here I'm talking about Dave Anthony. He's one of the ex-developers of the Call of Duty line of video games, which I historically am a big fan of. Not a fan of what he's saying here. Now, he's currently the International Security Fellow at the Atlantic Council, which is one of those political think tanks. And he's talking about what he thinks needs to be done to protect kids in schools against people who would come in and shoot them up. And he thinks we need to put soldiers in schools. Here is what he said. The video that this is coming out of is over an hour long, so I'll save you the trouble and read some of the quotes for you. "The threat now, the invasion, comes from within," says Dave Anthony. "Imagine the concept of something like a school marshal. Now, these guys are U.S. soldiers who are in plain clothes, whose job and part of their responsibility is to protect schools." So that's what he thinks about the protecting the kids. For some reason, just having like the volunteers, like the NRA wants, these people who just want to walk around to school surrounded by kids while holding guns, that's not enough. We need to actually have soldiers. I don't understand why, and I don't understand why, as a soldier, if you were to sign up for the military, you would want to be the one soldier who has to work at the school all the time. I don't know why that's the case. I have to imagine that he, at the end of the day, thinks that him or defense contractors can make some money off of this idea. But he also talks about ISIS and the threat of that. This guy, not surprisingly, is actually absolutely terrified of ISIS in America. He says, "It could be that you have 100 of these guys who may be on our soil right now, who may even be U.S. citizens, who could legally walk into whatever gun store they choose, buy some assault rifles, and start attacking soft targets." And so he's worried about that. Now, my reaction to that would be, well, then perhaps we should have some more stringent regulations and requirements for you to actually be able to buy a gun. I imagine Dave Anthony would probably not be in favor of that. Who knows? I can't look into his soul. I haven't actually met the guy. I think that would be a good solution. But he thinks having the army, military, soldiers everywhere is the solution. Now, I've always felt like it's important that you have the police on the one side protecting people domestically. You have the military for attacking our enemies, and certainly there's no end to those, judging by what most politicians seem to think. Now, he understands they're talking about having soldiers in both our schools and around the country to protect against ISIS terrorists domestically. Might be unpopular, but he has a solution for that. He says, "When we have a new product that has elements that we're not sure how people will respond to, what do we do as a corporation? We market it, and we market it as much as we can so that whether people like it or not, we do all the things we can to essentially brainwash people into liking it before it actually comes out." I think he should probably do a little bit more PR training before he gives talks like this. Because, look, what he says there about the brainwashing people is obviously awful. But we understand that whenever you try to sell something, this is what they think. This is what marketing is for. This is what commercials are for. We know that this is how they think. But he doesn't even know enough to hide it. In the age of the cell phone camera, when every private comment eventually goes public, this guy Dave Anthony doesn't know to hide the fact that he wants to brainwash the American people into allowing basically military rule around the country. Just soldiers everywhere checking in on people, watching out for ISIS and all of that. Now, maybe I'm being too hard. I mean, this guy did actually get people to buy over and over new editions of the same game with basically the same graphics, little actual feature improvement, worse textures in many cases, almost no evolution on the multiplayer side, and yet Call of Duty games continue to sell like hotcakes. And so maybe he does actually know something about brainwashing people into buying what should be an unpopular product. Maybe we should listen to Dave Anthony.